I'm guessing it's not a surprise to you to find out that old school performance reviews no longer work. First of all, they're not frequent enough, and they're unwieldy, and they take time. I'll just tell you that leaders everywhere hate preparing for them, and team members hate getting them. Leaders hate them because often they come all at the same time in a year and they feel like they're just going through the motions and they're writing a report card for someone, and it's an onerous, laborious, time-consuming process. Team members hate them because they feel like they're going to the principal's office and finding out their report card for the whole year to see how they did. Now, when I was a student, I spent a lot of time in the principal's office. I know how that feels. Your palms are sweaty, your mouth is like cotton. This is not a pleasant process, nor does it lead to life change. People don't change based on performance appraisals. Part of the reason for that is they tend to focus on the past, not the future. Now, I'm a big fan of just saying, give up all hope of having a brighter past. The past is over. Who cares about the past? Let's talk about the future. Let's talk about how you're going to be better. Now, think about sports coaching. Why does sports coaching work? Well, I'll tell you, it's because it's frequent. You're getting it on the spot. It's because you know that person really wants to help you win. They're not there to hammer you or give you a report card. Imagine if you went once a year to your sports coach and they told you how you'd done for the season. Like, this is not helpful. It doesn't help you get better. And so we want to make coaching more frequent, and we want to help people win. And we want to give up that old idea of the performance review because it just doesn't work anymore. It's not only dying, it's officially dead. So let me sum up why the performance review is dying, or in fact dead. The modern day employee is used to unprecedented amounts of immediate, quick feedback like we've discussed. Social media has trained us all to receive instant likes, and texting expects an immediate response, so we're used to that instant dimension. Employees of all ages expect to hear how they're doing on a regular basis, not receive a report card once a year. And by the way, that doesn't matter if you're a young person or if you're an older worker, we all have that same expectation. And performance reviews in the past were sometimes used to track poor behavior to justify firing. So this is a dirty little secret, but it used to be that, hey, if I have 3 verbals and 3 writtens or whatever the combination is, I've written you up and now I can let you go and not pay severance. Well, the labor market has changed a lot depending on the region of the world that you live in, and it's just not an effective use of that tool anymore. Here's why coaching is a much better method. Employees generally want to win at work and they want to do their best. So I find that there is the odd time that you find that toxic person who comes in and is just a disruptor and doesn't care about anybody and doesn't care how they contribute, but that's very rare. The great overwhelming majority of the time, people really want to do their best. They want to fit and they want to contribute. And coaching focuses on improving areas of strength and limiting areas of weakness. It's not the report card. It's saying, okay, where are you strong? What is your unique genius? And how do we capitalize on that? How do we take advantage of every one of your strengths? Oh, and of course, you need to watch your weaknesses too. But primarily, it's about strengths. Coaching is a positive process. If you've played sports, you know that coaches are respected and appreciated because they're the ones who help the team win. You might have great individual players, but without that coach, the team just is not going to win. And coaching is a lot more frequent, and it's also less formal. That formal feel of I sit down in the principal's office once a year is scary. But coaching is frequent and regular, and it's focused, it's very positive, and it's focused on how can you be better. So people like it because it's not so formal. Here's some keys to successful coaching. I think actually there are 2 main ones. And the first one is to have clear expectations. You must be committed to enforcing standards, and we define the standards by the scorecard that we built in our hiring course. If you haven't taken that, please take that one, because that defines what are the standards that you need to fulfill in order to be on this team. Employees need to know what they're expected to produce in their role and what attitude they're expected to display each day, of course. Just like if you're running a sports team. Of course, you have to do the things that the team requires you to do, or you're not going to be on the team. Every athletic coach you've had exposure to is clear on what they expect from team members. However, if you only have expectations and standards, you'll be viewed as harsh and you won't get the best out of the people. There's more to being a coach. But step 1 is you have to be clear on standards, because if you don't meet the standards, of course, you're not going to be on the team. But there's a key that has to be mixed in with those standards to really get the very best out of people. The first step in being a successful coach is having standards that you enforce and enforcing the scorecard and all that, but that's only half of the story. There's another half that when you stir in is going to make you a truly successful coach, and that's just showing that you care. So there's an old saying, maybe you've heard it, it goes like this: no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. Throughout my career, I've heard that repeated, scores of times, and there's a reason it's said a lot. The reason is because it's absolutely true. If all you have is standards, you're not going to get the best out of your people. They have to know that you care. Investing time in preparation and face-to-face employee interaction speaks volumes about how much you care. So if you don't give any feedback, you don't really care very much. At least that's how they feel. And every good coach enforces standards because they care. They care about winning, but they also care about the individual team member. They want that team member to win too. So you need both. You need standards and you need to show care. Every good coach also knows that if you want better performance, add structure. So let's say you're a kid and you want to play baseball with some friends. Well, you find some friends, you round up a bat and a ball and some baseball gloves, and you play around in the school field. But if you want to play professional baseball, well, there's going to be a whole lot more structure added. So you're going to have a manager and you're going to have various coaches, and they're going to monitor your exercise and your diet, because you're going to get much better performance if you add structure. So I'm making a case to add structure to your coaching here, but before you add structure, you have to add care. Because if you aren't approaching a coaching session because you really do care for that employee, that team member, you'll never be successful. Care has to be at the root of it, and they can sense if it is or it isn't. But when it's there, wow, that's a powerful incubator for change. When you've got both standards that I expect you to meet, and I want you to meet those standards because I really care about you as a person, and I want to be a career advocate, you're going to see wonderful things happen. Here are some principles to win before you begin. So before you get into a coaching session, I want you to check off these principles. So the first one is people trust and believe others who like them and are for them. So I want you to think back in your life. Think of the people who have influenced you: coaches, teachers, religious leaders, other grown-ups in your life, scout leaders, girls club leaders, these sorts of people. Did you feel that they were for you? Did you feel that they cared about you and they really wanted you to win? I can just tell you in 100% of the cases, of course, because if you didn't feel that they were for you, you wouldn't listen to them. And you need to do the same in your coaching sessions. So here's an action step for you. Adjust your attitude. Before you coach, ask yourself, do you really want this person to win? Or are you only angry or frustrated with them and with their mistakes? Until you can get yourself to the place where you really want them to win, you're not going to get very far. So do a mind shift and adjust that attitude. When I was a young guy, my dad came home and said, I found you a job and it's working on a local farm. I was a city kid. I knew nothing about farming, but I started working there. And once I'd worked there for a couple of weeks, my boss, Bud, my coach, Bud, the farmer and the owner of the business, said to me, I'm leaving for town. I'm not going to be around for the rest of the day, but I want you to make sure that you unload this trailer full of hay up into the hayloft before you go home. Well, putting hay in a hayloft is not a fun job. It's hot. The hay gets in the neck of your shirt and it's itchy. It pokes through your pants and it's really quite uncomfortable. So I found other things to do and I didn't unload the hay, and then I just went home. Well, I had my supper, the night went on, and about 9 o'clock, Dad said, the phone rang and Dad said, Bud's on the phone for you. Well, my heart sank because I knew that Bud was very fair, he had very high integrity, and he didn't mince words, and I had a feeling I knew what he was calling about. So I got on the phone and he said, did you put the hay in the barn? No, I didn't. He said, I want you to get dressed and come out and meet me at the farm right now. Now, if you did this today, you'd go to prison, but this was back in the day and this was farm rules and it was all okay then. So I hopped on my motorbike, went there, and by this time it was dark. And Bud was waiting for me beside the trailer full of hay. And without a word, he helped me, and together we put the hay all back into the barn. Then he sat me down and he had a coaching conversation with me. And he used the two things that every great coach uses. First, he showed me that he really cared about me and he wanted me to win. He wasn't doing this because he hated me or he wanted to hammer me. And he talked about my good qualities, he talked about my potential, and then he talked about standards. And he said, but you know what? Something has to change about you, and that is that you show a lazy, lackadaisical attitude to your work, and I want that to change. And he said, I believe you can win, and I want to help you win, and I want to see you grow. Will you work for me your very hardest for the rest of the time that you're on this farm, and I will help you? Well, I said with my whole heart, yes, I'll do that. And I ended up working there for 4 years. I worked there through most of my college years as well. And I worked my heart out for Bud because he was a great coach. He showed that he loved me and that he only gave me criticisms because he cared. And he also showed me that there were standards that I had to live up to. And if you want to be a good coach, you need to use those two pieces as well.